and they'll show up. So maybe we start and also because we have people online, some of the families, some of the people who already participated in the program. So it's always very joyful to be here together every 6 months. I know, so I'm Filipe Martins, I'm the director of CESCA, the manager of the program, so the person who will be leading this session and already with much expertise and much joy is Botons of CESC team, so he's the ELP manager. And I already know that Botton, if I speak too much in the evaluation of the session, Botton will tell me you spoke too much. So I have just some words. Usually I start, I welcome, but just some written things so that I keep it short. And so I say it is with much joy that I welcome you all. So those of us who are here, we are here gathered at this Press Club of Brussels, and also to welcome, just a word of welcome to the families, to the fellows, to the people, to the alumni, to the people who accompany us online. This is the 14th, so the 14th graduation of an ELP cohorts. We also call it the Fall 2025 one. For many of us, so some of the faces are common faces here, it has become an habit to gather here every 6 months, to listen about ELP, to listen about the 5 pillars, to listen to the words of the fellows, to listen of the words of the alumni. And I was thinking, I was preparing this in the morning, and I was thinking, it has a risk of becoming repetitive. Oh, not again, another graduation. But on the other hand, there are words and ideas that I really believe that we have to hear again and again, so that they dwell into us, so that they keep shaping our lives, so that they don't lose importance. I don't know how many of you, well, I will not ask the younger ones, but maybe the older ones will remember. There's a group, rock, what we would call symphonic rock group, a Scottish group called Marillion. Who of you know of Marillion? Okay, so I'm dealing. And they have a song that it's called, It's Just an Old Cliché. It's just an old cliché. And they speak about these old words, these old expressions, love, you're welcome, missing you, that often we try to be creative and to say in new ways. But at the end, we keep and we fall back in repeating these same expressions. Because they really mean it. They express what we really want to say. And so we keep repeating it. So here, in this graduation, once again, after last time 6 months and probably in 6 months' time, there are some words that we'll keep hearing again. Leadership, community, service, self-discovery, purpose, self-awareness also. Again, words that risk becoming repetitive if we just hear and don't think much about them. But if we stop, if we listen to them carefully again and again, these are the words that keep us grounded in what really matters, because they renew us. I always remember also these fellow Jesuits, whenever he celebrated a baptism or a marriage, he would always ask everybody present, feel as if you were baptized again, as if you were remarried again. So that's these occasions and these words help us to restart our faith, our life journey. It's invigorating to listen to them. And finally, last Saturday, and it was a very nice moment, last Saturday, this nice group of 18 fellows will then present one by one. They presented to the group, to one another, also to the ELP team, to the coaches, to the mentors. What it's called, this is also ELP language, they presented the PMP, the personal mission plans, which are the learnings and the takeaways and the challenges of these 5 months personal journey. Again, they repeated many of these words, but it was true. I think during this Saturday, during that long day of attention, of care, they didn't sound repetitive. They never sound repetitive when they are listened like this. They were filled with your experience, with your reflections, with your feelings, with your moments of joy, also some of suffering. And I shared with them, I really made the efforts, I felt this call that day to really be attentive and to listen to each one of you. And it was beautiful, because each one of these words at the end encompassed a unique experience. The way each one of you pronounced these words, they expressed this unique experience of ELP. And so, the PMP day was an arrival moment in a way. So last Saturday an arrival moment, today is an arrival moment. But today, the PMP today is also a restarting one. As you also share the challenges ahead, the calls, the projects you have in front of you. And so my wish today, usually I finish with a wish, it's that these words, these concepts that you have learned in ELP may accompany you in your journey ahead. May they also shape us every time we come here in this graduation, when we listen to them again and again. So that at the end, this is the description of ELP, we may all live, you may live a joyful life at the service of the common goods. So this is my wish. Okay.
Thank you, Philippe. Thank you for the opening, and I also welcome on the ELP staff's behalf and on the fellows' behalf everyone in the room. We are really glad to see the room full, and I hope that you will enjoy the very short speeches tonight that we offer before the graduation. The graduation will unfold as usual, that I will very shortly invite Eric to give a speech, and then our keynote speaker, Monsignor Aussa, will also be very meaningful in his message to the fellows who will finally get the graduation and the diploma in their hand very soon. I also welcome the coaches and the mentors in the room, because I see them and I very much appreciate some of them with us for a longer time, some of them joining the volunteering around ELP just now. And I also welcome a filming crew, because one of the ELP alumna's sister decided to make a documentary about ELP. So the life around ELP is starting to become organic, and I guess this is the beauty of exercises that you do for a long time enough. And just for you to know, so as usual, we have fellows from the first semester who stayed with us for 5 months, and fellows, please put up your hands, from the second semester. They have been with us for 2 times 5 months. That means that they have been tasked with some more responsibility that they certainly very much enjoyed, like heading the houses and trying to get the fridge clean. That's also important, right? That's where leadership really begins. Thank you. And then let me get the floor to Eric de Boom, Acting Director of the UXIA, University Foundation St. Ignatius in Antwerp, so the legal continuation of the Jesuit University in this beautiful Flemish town, who are our sponsors since the inception of ELP. That was in 2019. So if you think that was still first Trump presidency, it was still first Ursula von der Leyen presidency, and before COVID. So almost dinosaurs were around when ELP started, and that's when our partnership also started. So thank you so much for keeping with ELP. Eric, and the floor is yours.
So, dear Monseigneur, DLP fellows, dear friends, big party, indeed. Today marks the completion of your formation as a European leader. That's to say, the formal completion of your enrollment in the ELP as organized by JESC. As is almost self-evident, this formation is a lifelong endeavor and commitment. Less self-evident, although almost priceless, are the lifelong memories, life lessons, and friendships that you hopefully can take with you. As director of UXIA, University Center Sint Ignatius Antwerp, it's always a pleasure to take part in the festivities at the occasion of the graduation. UXIA itself is a university center that invests in building bridges between academia, social organizations, and civil society. The reason that we do so is because we strongly believe in a holistic formation that connects wisdom, experience, and action. And as accomplished ELP fellows, you will immediately recognize the Jesuit signature, and you will understand why UXIA actively supports the European Leadership Program for many years. 2 years ago, UXIA launched its UXIA Solidarity Academy. It's a place, a physical place, namely a renovated UXIA building in the historic heart of Antwerp. But it's also a mental place. That's to say, it's a place where people from diverse backgrounds can find each other, literally and figuratively, and have the space to develop and support concrete actions of solidarity based on innovative insights into solidarity. Conversely, meaningful practices of solidarity also offer opportunities to reflect upon old and new forms of solidarity. Thinking and doing are not only intrinsically linked, they also reinforce each other through a conscious interaction. But what does solidarity actually mean? Even more, what can it mean in a world that's characterized by upcoming authoritarian leaders and declining democracies, rising populism and polarization, growing impacts of climate change, increasing inequalities, and I can go on. We are not talking about multiple crises, but also, unfortunately, about existential crisis. In that regard, the ideas of two thinkers from the second half of the previous century might be very instructive. I'm referring to the German-American thinker Hannah Arendt and the French philosopher Albert Camus, who both lived in times of rising totalitarian regimes and existential uncertainties. Arendt masterfully analyzed what it means to live in a world in crisis and how it relates to loneliness. For her, crisis is a moment of political disruption in which existing structures no longer function. Loneliness in modern society, she argues, is not simply an individual feeling, but a structural phenomenon stemming from disruption of social and political ties. Loneliness does not only mean social isolation, but also a rupture with shared experience and truth. Those who are isolated have fewer opportunities to test reality through conversation and shared insights. This makes people susceptible to alternative realities, which totalitarian regimes create through propaganda. However, and that's the important one, however, a crisis is not only dangerous, according to Arendt, but also an opportunity. When people unite in solidarity and take action together, they can escape loneliness and resist oppression. For Arendt, thinking is a key element in resistance and solidarity. Thinking itself is not action, but it's a prerequisite for responsible and solidarity-based action. When people reflect, they become aware of their own moral position and the consequences of their actions. It's worth recalling what Arendt wrote in her famous essay, The Crisis in Education, and I quote, "A crisis forces us back to the questions themselves and requires from us new or old answers, but in any case, direct judgments. A crisis becomes a disaster only when we respond to it with preformed judgments, that's with prejudice. Such an attitude not only sharpens the crisis, but makes us forfeit the experience of reality and the opportunity for reflection it provides. End of quote. Albert Camus took a somewhat different perspective to analyze what it means to live in a world in crisis and loneliness. His approach is, as you know, existential in nature. A crisis reveals the fundamental absurdity of existence. Humanity yearns for order and meaning, but is confronted with a world that has no inherent meaning. This realization leads to profound loneliness. Thinking for Camus is the realization of the absurdity of existence. And in this situation, there are two possible responses. One can give up and retreat into nihilism or dogmatic thinking, or one can rise in moral rebellion against the absurdity and choose solidarity and meaningful action, despite its meaninglessness. In his famous essay, L'Homme Révolté, Camus describes humanity as confronted with the absurd, a world without absolute meaning. Yet, this doesn't mean we should surrender to despair. Precisely in accepting the absurd lies the freedom to act. Solidarity is a choice, even in an uncertain and absurd world. Camus' hero refuses to be passive. He shows solidarity as a conscious act, a commitment that does not rely on utopias or absolute certainties. In his work, Camus frequently refers to the myth of Prometheus, the figure who stole fire from the gods to advance humanity. And for Camus, this figure of Prometheus symbolizes humanity, who, despite suffering and punishment, continues to fight for justice. Camus' vision of hope is not naive hope, but a form of resilience and determination. In our Uxia Solidarity Academy, these values of thinking, taking responsibility, making judgments, embracing the freedom to act, all hold central place. These are values that never can be taken for granted and must be cherished and put into practice every day. I'm convinced that these were also the values that were at the heart of your ELP fellowship. I can only wish for you that they become, if they did not do so already, a second nature, and that, as our future European leaders, you will pass them on to future generations as part of our precious tradition. We count on you to act accordingly. And in that sense, I conclude once more with the words of Arends, since I never could state it more ingeniously. The fact that man is capable of action means that the unexpected can be expected from him, that he is able to perform what's infinitely improbable. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you so much. I very much love that we have a philosopher with us at each graduation. As you know, we have the custom to receive a speaker at ELP almost every week, and that means a fireside chat where we try to avoid the Brussels trap to talk about policy, and we try to talk about vocation and why people do what they do, whether there is meaning in what they do. And the most splendid moment of such discussions is when we have a keynote speaker at the graduation. So thank you, Monsignor Aussa, for accepting the invitation, and I invite you to take the floor and deliver your keynote speech.
Thank you. It's an obstacle course, yeah. Well, Father Filippi has asked me so many things to say everything in 20 minutes. I said, that's why I'm trying to have a timer, but I think somebody will do it for me. Well, Father Felipe just shout when I reach. Give me 2 more minutes after 20. Yeah. Dear friends, so I said Father Felipe told me that the fellows of the European Leadership Program live in a shared community. I hope that he is not converting them to become Jesuits and nuns. But don't worry, because I myself lived in big communities as a high school and university student, and that's from 1973 to 1990. That's why I'm not admitted to the fellowship program. I'm too old. Communities with, let's say, between 50 to 300 people, people of all kinds of characters, saints and clowns, from the funniest to the most boring, from the most generous to the most miserly, from the most brilliant to, well, less brilliant. But I must say the great majority were very normal people, mostly good, bright, and generous, just like the graduating fellows today. I have so much happy memories of those years, and I parted with so many friends who until now and for life remain constantly in contact. So I'm sure that's in your mind also today. I wake up every morning with lots of good mornings on my WhatsApp or Messenger from my classmates across decades. Everyone is always excited with the faintest mention of a class reunion. So I think that's also in your mind. All my high school classmates are so excited for our 2027 reunion to celebrate our 50th anniversary of high school graduation. Could you imagine that? Those who have not become priests, like me, are already grandfathers and happily retired, something that I am still longing for. I mean not to be a grandfather, but to be happily retired. I know retirement is something that is farthest from your mind today. Our young fellows, when I think of retirement, they think of jobs. And to be ready for that, here at the ELP, they have received important additional baggage: leadership training, a heightened sense of social responsibility, and public service. Solidarity, as very much underlined, affirmation towards stronger values, and a more profound spiritual sense, a deeper understanding of oneself and of others. You have all your life still in front of you, and time is on your side to educate yourselves even more. Perhaps not anymore in classroom settings, but in real life, in the real world. If we're going to work for the European Union External Service, you may have to learn to survive during rainy nights stuck in the mud in the forest of Madagascar, just as I did 40 years ago. You may have to deal with social chaos and conflicts, just like I had to deal with in Madagascar, Albania, or in Haiti. You may be sent to countries in rapid epoch-making transformations, as I experienced in post-communist countries in Eastern Europe, like Bulgaria, Albania, and the whole of the Balkans, where I lived for 5 years and a half. But even if you hope to be assigned in Rome, where I lived for 12 years, I assure you it is not all intoxicating art and delicious pizza. There you have to deal with the Italians. Where is Eva? Eva is there. I saw there is an Eva, and there is Sofia also, I think. They're Italians. So those who know them would be sure to know that I am not telling the truth. In fact, consummate art, exquisite cuisine, the joy of living, and the Italians are very compatible. And even if you are sent to the United Nations in New York, where I was assigned twice, lasting 7 years and a half, know that it's not all Broadway and dizzying skyscrapers, but also homelessness and bomb cyclones, and lots of work whose usefulness you wouldn't have the pleasure of seeing. Or Madrid. There are so many Spaniards here, and that's why I don't think I could make a choice of the most beautiful place in Spain without offending 1, 2, or 3. I lived in Spain 5 years and a half before coming to Brussels and have traveled there extensively during the last 4 decades. If I say there is no place like Sevilla, Antonio will treat me to a bullfight in the Maestranza. If I say there's no better plaza in the world than Cibeles, where's Alba and Esther? They're there. They're from Madrid, I guess. So they will add, oh, we also have the Prado. We also have the biggest royal palace still in use. And we have Real Madrid. Well, if you give me a pass to a Real Madrid-Barcelona game, then I will agree with you. And I don't know where Elena comes from. Elena is there. From Barcelona? No. No. Oh, I thought you were from Barcelona. From where are you? From Madrid. I'm from Madrid as well, so I think we'll go to Retiro. And is there a Jose there? Oh, Pepe. Oh, I guess he's from Extremadura. Are you? So besides being almost a pure-blooded Jesuit, I think. Viva la Virgen de Guadalupe, then. And if you work in the EU institutions here in Brussels, you will continue to live in Brussels, a city whose vices are clear to see, but whose virtues I still have to discover. Joke only. Otherwise, Rodolphe would recommend my expulsion here. I wouldn't mind as long as he expels me to the monastery in Belgium with the best brewery. Or exile me to Marrakesh. I think we have somebody also from Morocco here, yeah. Or to Greenland. I think we have an American who is also Danish. So, etc., etc. I will not go on. I know there are also Hungarians. And I try to say there are Hungarians, and I noticed that there is nobody from Austria. So I don't risk, being killed by saying that Budapest is more beautiful than Vienna. So, okay, you also would like to go to the Philippines, right? Have you been to the Philippines? I come from the Philippines. So there, I'm afraid if you will be assigned in Manila, you will hate Manila. Because it's an urban nightmare of more than 15 million inhabitants, and around 30 million, including neighboring cities and towns. So you will surely opt for the beaches and the scuba diving in many of those more than 7,600 islands stretched like pearls in the Pacific, almost 2,000 kilometers long. In one of those, some 700 kilometers from Manila, because Father Felipe told me to say something about where I come from, that's why I'm mentioning it, some 700 kilometers from Manila, there is an island called Bohol. I was born and raised at the edge of a delta of confluent rivers where fresh waters meet the sea. It's like Florida. So you may think it was paradise. Well, if you consider paradise a place where there were more pythons and iguanas than people, that was it. It was a constant fight between those beasts and for us, for the free-range chickens and wild doves, which either ended up in our plates or in their stomachs. But I think we should not forget Portugal, because otherwise Father Felipe would ask me afterwards why you did not mention Portugal. But I am unable to talk bad against our host. So I would just like to assure him that my siblings and I love Portugal, not only because Fatima and the Mosteiro dos Jerónimos, but also for the port wineries along the Douro. And I'm sure that the mention of San Antonio do Lisboa and not of Padua would be enough to put Father Felipe head over heels. I think he would be happy with that. But let's stop dreaming of future destinations for a while and come back to the reality that is Europe, or in particular, European Union. You are here because you believe in Europe and the project of the European Union. But honestly, how has that enthusiastic belief evolved lately? In the context of a sense of crisis and urgency, as has also been mentioned. I am relatively a Johnny-come-lately old man in town. So I spent the last months meeting many EU authorities and ambassadors and other people, hundreds of them. These meetings almost always left me with a sensation, and indeed with an understanding, that Europe is going through a period of deep crisis and must recover itself with urgency. EU and foreign political discourse about Europe consolidate this impression, indeed, or perhaps reality, with a tone bordering on panic. Somebody from across the Atlantic tells you that the European civilization, as we knew it, is on its death throes, and that from now on you would have to pay for your own security and pay hefty fines and tariffs. Somebody from the far Pacific makes you realize that your electric cars and batteries are commercially uncompetitive even before they are manufactured. A huge unfriendly neighbor is at your backyard, indeed, already inside your house, breaking your price crystals and ignoring every house rule. Giant developing but economically pulsating countries ignore your new Green Deal, appealing to what they call an inalienable right to development, like what you enjoyed during the Great Industrial Revolution or the post-war reconstruction in heavy industries in Europe, promising you that a Green Deal will arrive when they will be fully developed like you. And multilateralism, as the Holy Father underlined very much in his speech to the diplomatic court to the Holy See, multilateralism seems to be in a blind alley, as you haven't heard of the United Nations, in spite of huge international peace and security crisis. And your European authorities have finally realized that things are getting very serious and that you have to up the ante. Obviously, resignation, much less surrender, is not an option. So, starkly appraising the State of the Union in stormy conditions in an unforgiving world, it's like a Wuthering Heights or New York City hit by a bomb cyclone. Your authorities have to rally the troops to fight because the Europeans are feeling the ground shifting beneath them. They can feel things getting harder, just as they are working harder. They can feel the impact of the global crisis, of the higher cost of living. They feel the speed of change affecting their lives and careers, perhaps including those of the ELP fellows. So, what must we Europeans do? The marching order is Europe must fight. Fight for its place in the world, in which many major powers are either ambivalent or openly hostile to Europe. A world of imperial ambitions and imperial wars. A world in which dependencies are ruthlessly weaponized. And it's for all of these reasons that a new Europe must emerge. But these are not my words. These are the words of the President of the European Commission in her State of the Union address last September. A speech that reminded us, that echoed Churchill's famous 1940 fight speech in the House of Commons. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight in the seas and oceans. Or whatever the coast may be, we shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. And we shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. That's really a fighting speech. And it has been echoed many times in many speeches of our leaders. So how must Europe fight? And for what? On what really matters? Or where lies Europe's gaping vulnerabilities, as perhaps you see it yourselves? First of all, security. Now Europe seems to be seriously taking the warning that the offshoring of its security could be over. So it must build its own security capabilities, which imply enormous resources, huge sacrifices, and who knows how long it will take, while marauding forces are already breaching the walls. So Europe is obliged to double, triple, quadruple defense budget in 10 years, or quintuple your EU budget for the next budget framework. For so many of us, The project of a huge rearming of Europe implies a problem of conscience, especially for those who want to hear or who want to bear prophetic witness to what Pope Leo XIV called the unarmed and disarming peace, a peace that does not come about and is not maintained by arms. The Pope warns that far beyond the principle of legitimate defense, a confrontational logic now dominates global politics, deepening instability and unpredictability day by day, affirming that the idea of the deterrent power of military might, especially nuclear deterrence, is based on the irrationality of relations between nations, built not on law, justice, and trust, but on fear and domination by force. Then there is the added danger of artificial intelligence applied in warfare, further making war impersonal and detached from human direct control, worsening the tragedy of armed conflict. And second, competitivity in the global trade. Europe must recover its lost competitive edge if it wants to to continue living as it did or does, and to play a role in the world stage. But will Europe follow the aggressive global trade's much more relaxed human rights and environmental standards and adopt a così fan tutte attitude, as Mozart would have it? It's an if you can't beat them, join them world out there. Will the EU reassess its norms in human rights and environmental safeguards? The pressure is not only from your foreign trade competitors, it's your very own industrial giants telling you that if you don't, they will fold up one day. You heard it from Antwerp 2 weeks ago, with the echoes from Antwerp reverberating less than 100 kilometers away in Aldenbiesen, where the head of states and governments and EU leaders had a retreat, though it was not an Ignatian retreat because the Jesuits were not invited, with the aim to establish the priorities of the Union. The EU emissions trading system, until then considered a sacred cow, seemed to have lost its untouchability and could be subjected to a sort of an omnibus treatment of deregulation and simplification to make EU industries more competitive. Now, is this where Europe and the EU heading to? You answer that question yourself. But I will give you an opinion. And I think clearly signs are there to indicate that the EU is embarking on this road. And I'm not saying it's bad. I leave it to you to assess. Consider the Omnibus 1 and 2 and all the 10. Consider the speeches of the highest authorities of the EU, especially after the Aldenbiesen retreat. The keywords are deregulation and simplification. While this is good because it would respond to the recurrent complaints of the EU citizens of suffocating bureaucracies, deregulation and simplification in the context of competitivity does not only mean cutting red tape, it means also cutting or watering down norms that are good, but do not favor competitivity. A good compromise is somewhere between suffocating red tape and complete laissez-faire. In medio stat virtus. Virtue stands in the middle, Aristotle affirms in Nicomachean Ethics, to underline that the good lies not in the extremes, but in moderation, equilibrium, and good measure. To conclude, opinions and analysis about the present state of the Union ran the whole gamut from the disastrous to the don't worry, be happy attitudes. The glass is half full, but it is also half empty. That's how people see it. A time of great peril, yes, but it's also a time of great opportunities. A war in Europe is time to reaffirm the incalculable value of peace. The real politic of brute force must be resisted with the force of law. The demographic survival of Europe must be put on the top of anti-life and anti-family ideologies. The anguish for being left alone to defend itself in a merciless world is a wake-up call that in life nothing is free, much less your security. AI-powered economies in other parts of the world make Europe realize it has been probably resting on its laurels for too long. A waning of Europe's role in the world is not necessarily negative, because it can simply mean that many countries and regions in the world have come of age, more autonomous without being isolationist, but simply don't need any form of tutelage. The extremes for Europe would be, on the one hand, to situate itself in the era of empires where the sun never set, and on the other hand, to consider a certain decline of its role in a very changed world as the fall of the Roman Empire. I believe your roles, fellow fellows, or everyone's role, is to accompany Europe to face this epoch-changing time with much responsibility, solidarity, and steadfast serenity, without fear and trembling. Joseph Ratzinger used to affirm the fact that Europe reached the heights in all fields of human genius and civilization has been due to the solidity of the trunk and the depths of its roots, which nourish it. Let's once again discover these roots and this trunk. In his address to the European Parliament in Strasbourg in 2014, Pope Francis used the image of Europe as a grandmother, weary, aging, no longer fertile, and vital. There is an impression that Europe is declining, that it has lost its ability to be innovative and creative. But Pope Francis did not only see Europe as a cranky old granny, he also saw so much potential, so much fire still left. Thus, he rallied Europe to recover its vigor, its idealism, its spirit of curiosity and enterprise, its thirst for truth, its talents to integrate, to dialogue, and to generate values. Europe should not only consider its immense human, artistic, technical, social, political, economic, and religious patrimony as simply an artifact of the past, but as a flowing living sap that continues to give it life and vigor. This is the Europe that we must build, and this is the Europe I think we are proud of it. We have been very proud of it, of course, and I think we have to be more than just proud. We have to accompany it, help it really to recover its certainty and to recover its roots so that its trunks and leaves would continue to flourish. Well, thank you for your attention. How long was it? I'm sure it was more. Well, I'm sure it was more than 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Monsignor Aussa, thank you, the Apostolic Nuncio to the European Union, for addressing the fellows. Well, the message was not unheavy, but we will continue with the easy part, the handover of the diplomas. So I invite my colleagues to help with the stage, and then let me explain in between. So we invited the fellows, when they will step on stage one by one to get their diplomas, to come up with the words that best characterize their experience in the last 5 months and give an explanation why they chose that word. Actually, that is Philip's methodology. So we will see how it works. So we will start, not because UXIA is the sponsor, but we will start with the Global South Fellow, sponsored by UXIA from Morocco, Adam Rashid. And we will need this mic to
Maybe
work.
that one.
Please.
Hello. Hi, everyone. So the word I have chosen is sharing. This past 5 months were like like we've shared a lot of things, memories, struggles, a lot of joy, a lot of happiness, but most of all, a lot of restaurants and a lot of food. So this is the word that resonates with me for this past 5 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Yes. Oops.
You come and we take a picture. And we take a picture. And we take. Come here to the center. Come to the center.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. The next person is Ade Kirs from Hungary.
Second.
Second.
Let me stand here. Okay. Thank you so much. So I had to write my word down because I couldn't remember the explanation. My word is curiosity, because I've chose this word because this journey encouraged me to look at myself with openness instead of judgment. And I learned how to ask questions about who I am, what drives me, and who I want to become. Thank you.
Thank you, Ade. Congratulations. Please shake hands.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
The next person is from Spain, Ava Estevez Otero.
So hi everybody, my word is safety, because the ELP has been my safe place during these months to get the confidence that I was needing to heal, to grow, to reflect a lot and lead my life with responsibility despite all the uncertainty.
Which is there. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. In the early days of ELP, we had lots of Italians, then Hungarians, and today we have lots of Spanish people. So Antonio Luis Cano.
Hi everyone, thank you for being here. My word is evolution, because I realized that no matter if we are going forward, if we are going back, if we are staying in the same place, we are always transforming.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And we go on. Elena Sabrina Fernandez.
Okay. So, thank you very much. My word would be welcome, because the ELP and most importantly the community that we've built among our fellows made me feel at home, welcome and safe from day one in Brussels. So thank you very much.
All right. And we still stay in Spain, Esther Abelán Garcia.
My word is resilience for so many reasons, but mainly because no matter the circumstances, the unfairness or the challenges that I faced, I always stay true to myself, and I'm very proud of that. So thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
She was offended because thinking if she was from Barcelona, that was the problem.
Thank you. And now we go to Italy. Eva Maria Castelletti.
I have it on paper, old style, in case I forget. So the word I chose is confluence. I've chosen this word because this month felt like a meeting point between self and community, between Brussels bubbles and lived realities, between policies and human rights. ELP has been the space where these dimensions didn't compete, but converge.
Beautiful. I understand why you wrote it down. Welcome back. Thank you. And Gideon Meves from Germany.
Hello. My word is searching. I have been searching for connection, searching for vocation, and I have found plenty of it.
Thank you, Gideon. Thank you. And of course, we always have a Portuguese. Gloria, please. And the word.
So my word is community, because this program has opened my eyes to how powerful it is to truly belong.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. And as everyone said, Pepe.
Hello. Hello, good afternoon. My word is origin, because thanks to the program, I get a deeper understanding of myself. Also, I review my relation with God, and I became aware of all the people that on a daily basis serve and love me. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. Congratulations, Papa. Thank you.
Congratulations. Well, where are you in Extremadura? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And another second semester fellow, Klári Nagy. From the Democratic Hungary.
My word is, well, I want to slightly reiterate from a word that I used a lot on Saturday. So my new word is fermentation. I wanted to choose something that is also very transformative. This is how I feel after this 1 year of ELP experience. And also with this word, I wanted to point to the fact that transformation and change is not only through nice processes and sunshine and bubbles, but also some pressure sometimes. So this is how I feel like at the end of this very natural process of fermentation. And I'm happy with the result. Thank you.
Thank you. And one more Hungarian, Luca Demény.
My word is the sea, because every river runs to the sea, and during the past 5 months I've learned to become the sea.
Thank and Medicine Herbo or Brewery for us.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight. The word I chose would be known as acceptance. And that's because over the last 5 months, these beautiful people have allowed me to be who I am as both a Dane, but also an American, and not be so judged about the current geopolitical context that we face. And they've really just embraced who I am as a human being. So thank you so much for everybody. So.
Thank you, Rory. Thank you. And we were again proud to have our 4th Ukrainian fellow in this cohort, Maria.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, as it was already mentioned, I'm Ukrainian. I come from Ukraine. And I've chosen a word, justice, because it has both professional and also personal application. And ELP gave me the understanding what the real justice is, that it is not only a legal principle, but that's a real what we all are seeking for, not only Ukrainians, but also Europeans and the whole world. Thank you very much for this amazing opportunity. And I also understood that justice is also about serving the common good. Thank you very much again. And thank you very much for everyone who always supported and who made this amazing journey a home, which I will always welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you so much. Congratulations. And we have one more, German fellow, Pauline Bratt.
Hello, everyone. My name is Inner Freedom. Not my name, my word. Almost. My word is Inner. My name is Pauline, and my word is Inner Freedom. And this is because I've learned during the past 5 months how important it is to take decisions, professional ones and personal ones, from a place of inner freedom. And I think I got a bit closer to the art of distinguishing between good options and options that are right for me.
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you. Thank you. And our honorary Belgian fellow, Rodolphe. Honorary only in the way that we are very pleased to have Belgians among us.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I did 2 semesters, so I chose 2 words. Apologies, Father Felipe. It's dynamic anchoring. So ELP learned me to be more anchored in my relationship with others, God, myself. And based on that deep anchoring, being able to be more dynamic, and knowing that I have that anchor, I feel more armed and ready to go for it and to move and to dare stuff.
I forgive you.
Thank you. And Sofia Antonetti.
Apologies, I will also read. So the word that I have chosen for this semester is encounter. I have chosen this word because these months have reminded me that decisions that truly shape my path are born from encounters that awaken something deeper in me. And ELP has been a space where faces, dialogues, and circumstances have reawakened my freedom and also my sense of direction.
Thank you so much. And finally, our last Hungarian, Zoe.
Well, thank you so much for my parents for naming me Zoe so I could go last, because it was really tough to choose just one word. So I've been debating between two, and I found that my word is balance, because this past 5 months helped me understand the balance that I should be seeking between my patience for myself and others and the impatience to changing things for the better.
Thank you so much. Köszönöm szépen. Thank you so much. I re-invite the members of the stage to take their seats, and thank you for assisting to the handover of the diploma. As the old custom now goes, we give the floor for a short welcome to an alumni member who is welcoming the freshly graduated fellows in the alumni community. So, Teresa, please.
Thank you very much, and such a beautiful moment. Congratulations, all of you, all the friends I'm seeing, and Felipe, this has been really nice. When I was a fellow with Felipe, we used to mention, what we do, Felipe? We were giving people names of animals, no? Like this. I remember, but this...
Don't speak about
I know, I promise. But honestly, this has been amazing because it connects so much with what I'm going to say, and honestly, it felt like, I felt so touched, and now that I see my dear friends on the background and many of you, really, what you share connects a lot with what was my experience. So having this said, I'm going to start with my speech. Monsignor Auza, really, thank you very much for your words, very much needed. And dear friends, distinguished guests, alumni, congratulations, all the friends here. Really, it's a true joy and privilege to stand here today. This time not as a graduating fellow, but as an alumnus who continues really to be shaped by what this program has given me. It really goes beyond the words I'm going to share now with all of you, really. When I graduated from the ELP in 2023, wow, I spoke in this very same place about transformation, shared commitment, and the journey of discovering our personal calling. And I ended with a very, very clear idea. Life is constantly inviting us to ask what comes next. That's very clear. We all know that, no matter how old we are. So 3 years later, living and working in Brussels, I realized that this question, as I said, never disappears. It simply deepens. So when I look back at my own journey since ELP, one word comes to mind: resilience. I don't know who mentioned it from here, but I think it was one of you mentioned resilience. Thank you. For me, it's not resilience as perfection, but as perseverance, as choosing progress over perfection. And everyone knows this. Brussels can be intense. I mean, it's intense. Uncertain, sometimes lonely. Someone was also mentioning loneliness. I think it was you, Monsignor Felipe. Someone mentioned loneliness. And many of you might still be wondering, no, where this place in the city is, no? Again, what comes next? I certainly did. I still do it. But I truly believe that ELP gives us a compass, the Ignatian vision of discernment, discernimiento. And discernment teaches us that life is not about having all the answers. It's about learning to listen deeply to the movements within us, no? To the needs of the world around us, and to the quiet invitations that guide our choices. It teaches us to trust the process, even when the path is very unclear. And let me share something with you that for me was very relevant. So recently I had the opportunity to meet the Indian activist and educator Satish Kumar. Some of you, he's the founder of Schumacher College, very focused on ecology. He speaks about what he calls radical love. And he says that in a world marked by uncertainty and fragmentation, Monsignor mentioned this in his speech. So Satish Kumar reminds us of something profoundly intuitive. Life starts with relationship, not separation. So radical love is not an abstract idea. It means accepting ourselves, caring for others, and acting responsibly within the world we share. And in many ways, and this is my personal connection, this resonates deeply with the Ignatian tradition. Discernment helps us to choose wisely, and radical love helps us to act with courage. Together, they invite us to lead not from fear, but from love. And as we know, in our current geopolitical situation, the state of the world, fear divides and love transforms, unites. So, dear fellows that you just graduated, you are leaving this program with knowledge, skills, friendship, and a community that will accompany you for life. I know it because my girls are on the background. And but, and this doesn't give less value to what I just said, no? But perhaps the greatest gift you carry forward is something less visible, and it's a way of seeing the world. You have learned about leadership, and you know that leadership is service. That's very clear for all of us here today. You also know that community is a strength, and that spirituality and action belong together. There is no doubt for any of us. And you might still be searching your place, and definitely you will, and you might face doubts about the future. And my advice, it's plain. Embrace its moment. Really live the moment, live the present. Allow what you have built here to guide you towards a life of purpose, alignment, and joy. And remember that progress, not perfection, is the path to a meaningful life. And also remember that change does not begin in grand institutions alone. It does. It also begins in the choices we make every day. How we treat others, how we care of our common home, no? Remembering Papa Francisco, and how we respond to challenges. So, my keywords for the day. Trust your discernment. Choose love over fear. Serve with generosity. And never stop learning. Because, as I said back in 2023, and as I really believe even more strongly today, in every ending, there is a new beginning. So, thank you very much. Moltes gràcies.
Thank you, Teresa Pallares Ramos, fellow at Salzburg Global and head of advocacy at Youth Proactive, right? Okay, so thank you, and I hope that the freshly graduated fellows also hear the call of the alumni, because we have an alumni board working in town. Now we are getting very close to the end of the ceremony. Let me just get you maybe one thought. As I was preparing for the graduation, I was arranging my parents' flat. And as you know, you can find quite some surprising things at your parents' place. That's how it happened that I found this pin. This pin, you won't see it, but it's a peanut. It's a peanut. Now, I am from Hungary. Peanut is not growing in Hungary. So where is this peanut coming from? What did I do? I asked AI. And surprisingly, AI got me the answer. This is the peanut of Jimmy Carter from the late 70s. So this is a 50-year-old pin And Jimmy Carter wore this peanut during all his presidential campaign to get as a symbol of humility, that he was on a peanut farm before entering politics. It's not some fancy real estate mogul, it's not crypto czar or anything else, but a decent farmer from a peanut farm. But not only, he was proud of that. And I guess this humility is something that we tried and try to get through the Jesuit tradition of formation that is necessary for your future. Because this humility is something that allows us to get rid of the vanity projects. And I was so glad to listen to you last Saturday, because none of you was in the path of vanity. You are in this process of really getting only where to the direction of the common good. And if this common good can be in the focus, that's something that we at ELP will be extremely happy to see you fulfilling. Having that said, what is the common good today in Europe? Unfortunately, the menu is quite long. So you can decide if you want to fight against the tech populist toxic alliance spreading in our online space. You can decide to just simply go against the Russian war machine. You can decide to work against communist oppression still present in the world, or just to get rid of some warlords in Africa, or maybe just to impede on the will of wannabe dictators even in our continent. So you have a choice, right? So you can't complain. If you want to discern about your common good quest, you can really do an excellent priority list how you want to proceed. And when I was listening to His Excellency's words and the call to fight, I would say that we need to cooperate, and we all, intergenerations, we need to cooperate to avoid the fight, but we will need to fight for cooperation. And this is something where I will really, really count on you. So you have a mission to fight for, and I hope that we will be all part of this game. Thank you for joining us on this. Thank you, and now I have the pleasure to give the floor to President Dalibor, President of the Jesuit Conference of the Provinces in Europe. As you know, the conference means sort of the larger Europe, from Vladivostok to Morocco and and to Lebanon. Greenland, of course. Of course. Greenland, and soon Kamchatka to Greenland. Thank you. So, Dalibor, coming from Croatia, is now presiding not only JESC, but the Conference of the Provincials. Provincials are the heads of the sovereign entities of the Jesuits that are not necessarily countries, but usually overlapping. So thank you for joining us, and I invite you to give a final blessing to the fellows.
Dear friends, dear fellows, I always prepare every year some short speech. I write it down, but then in the end I say something else. So I just want to tell you it was, as always, our joy and pleasure to accompany you at this important part of their life and their professional path. Well, we will see where this path of life will take you in the next years, but certainly it will be our joy and pleasure to stay in touch with you in any way, through JESC or Alumni Association or in any other, if nothing else, in your thoughts and in your prayers. You will certainly be at least there. I would also use the opportunity to thank all those who made ELP happen, all our members of the team of JESC who have done great work for all these years, and all the collaborators, mentors, spiritual directors, and anybody and everybody else who in any way participated in this wonderful project and program. You have said many, many words, and I think they express, they show that what we wanted to share through ELP, in one way or another, is there, it has happened, and it will stay. And I hope, I believe, it will also take root in your deep sense of self and personal history. And the words, okay, some of them mean something, some of them change something, some of them don't. I will say words that necessarily change the world, and these are the words of blessing and prayer. This year, okay, Felipe once upon a time gave me task to use something Ignatian, but this year it's not an Ignatian thought or prayer, but it's more connected with the great jubilee that actually we celebrate, commemorate, whatever, enjoy this year, and that's the anniversary of Saint Francis of Assisi. 800 years of his death, so not birth. Well, we have missed that one. Yeah. So, and you know that he really means a lot to everybody that has any kind of knowledge of a spiritual life. So I chose a prayer which is not really his prayer, but certainly I think he would sign it. It's known as the prayer of Saint Francis, or the prayer for peace. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. And may God accompany you and bless you wherever you are, keep you safe, and inspire you in all your future decisions. Amen.
Thank you very much, Dalibor. And now I have the pleasant task to very soon invite you to the reception. Just some homekeeping before that. I want to thank Monsignor for the keynote speech with a book of one of our mentor and speaker of ELP, Victoria Martin de la Torre, now member of the European Parliament's research team. And she was writing a book about the face of the Founding Fathers. I also thank the team, and I especially thank Lucia, as she will be with us. She will celebrate her work anniversary of the second year with JESC, so very soon breaking record for an ELP officer. But it means that we are getting better. So thank you, Lucia, for staying with us. And as a teaser, as the 15th graduation is coming up on the 2nd of July, so I invite all of you to already put save the date in the calendar, and we have already secured the speaker. I won't tell you, but look out for the news who will be the speaker, and certainly you will gladly join on the 2nd of July, the next ELP graduation. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for being with us. And enjoy the reception, except the fellows who come for a picture.